All right, Kari, can we go ahead and check your audio?
Yep, I'm here.
Great. You sound loud and clear. Thank you. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight as we take this opportunity to interview our founder and president of One Dog at a Time, ODAAT. We're super excited to be able to talk to Kari Coble this evening and ask her a few questions about One Dog at a Time and her experience with the organization. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. If we can, please. Oh, and let me introduce myself. My name is Serena Warren. I am the board secretary, one of the volunteers here at One Dog at a Time. All right, great. So Kari, thanks for joining me tonight on this live virtual event. This is pretty exciting. It's our first time ever doing a live event here through our Zoom. And I guess I'd like to start out by asking you a little bit about ODAAT and really how ODAAT came about. If you could share a little bit about that story with us.
Okay. Originally, I had started out networking death row dogs at different shelters. And then I started to get people who were contacting me in regards to animal neglect or cruelty. They were getting nowhere when they went to report to the police department, and they really weren't sure where to go to report to try to get an animal help. I started to take these complaints. I would get as much information as I could, and I would contact the proper authorities. And what I found out was that the authorities didn't even know that the law existed, let alone the fact that they were the ones that were meant to enforce it.
Yeah. Wow. So what did you do then?
So I got myself educated. I was able to meet up with some really great people, Humane Society police officers that are sworn in our state, as well as some dog wardens that, every single day they go to work and people are trying to give them animal cruelty and neglect complaints, and they can't handle those. Mm. They only enforce dog law, which is under the Department of Agriculture. This is also one reason why puppy mills exist, because dog wardens actually inspect those kennels. However, they cannot order veterinary care.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's really interesting. It seems to me, and what I've learned since I've been part of the rescue, is that ODAAT is really not like other rescues and shelters. It's actually very unique in many different ways. Can you speak to us about what makes One Dog at a Time so unique?
Well, Humane Society police officers are actually sworn in under 501c rescues, shelters. That is how they are able to enforce only the portion of the crimes code that is our animal neglect and cruelty laws. However, unless that shelter or rescue has a Humane Society police officer, oftentimes the shelters are getting contacted about humane complaints, and basically they either refer them to an outside agency or whatever. But when we receive these complaints, we actually actively assist the caller, the reporter, in attempting to try to report these situations. When I reach out to a police department with information about an animal that's been, that is in a situation that we suspect it's being neglected, maybe not fed and watered, maybe chained out without any shelter, we actually offer the resources that officer would need in order to complete the complaint. So my example is, if we get contacted about a dog that has no food, water, or shelter and has been tethered out for days, we actually offer, if that dog were to have to be seized under a warrant, we offer to hold that dog till court. Our police departments in the state of Pennsylvania do not have that resource. So if they actively want to investigate animal cruelty or neglect, they really have no option other than to leave the animal there. They can write citation after citation after citation, but they can't they can't take the animal. If it's a horse, what do they do with it? They can't put it in their evidence locker. And that's where ODAAT comes in. ODAAT also comes in where maybe an animal was murdered, which unfortunately is becoming more and more frequent. We've assisted with, I think, 7 dead animals that were murdered or suspected to be murdered this year. And in order to determine whether or not that was the case, there is a necropsy that needs to be performed. What that is it's basically an autopsy of an animal. And then we are able to get the cause of death. And once we know what the cause of death is, we know what charges could be pressed if we were able to find the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is more of a service to the police departments in being able to provide them with that resource so they have somewhere to put their evidence. It would be like communications contacting a police officer and saying, hey, there's an armed robbery at Sheets, and them sending them there with a catch pole.
Right.
You know, they're not going to have there's no solution to the problem.
Yeah.
We provide that.
Which is just incredible. One of the things I love about working with One Dog at a Time is just the willingness to be that resource for law enforcement when the need arises, and having that education and that knowledge to help them follow through with some of these cases, which is great. And One Dog at a Time actually serves the entire state of Pennsylvania, which is, I think, just a tremendous service to the communities across the state.
Tremendous and very weighing on all of us, I think.
Yeah.
PA is a huge state. Correct. Which we take very seriously.
Yeah. And not only that, ODAAT also takes in lost pets. We try to reunite lost pets with their owners. We educate around spay and neuter. We don't just do dogs, as you said. We really service, is it any owned animal?
Right. Originally, it was, people were contacting me about dog complaints, and then it became horses, and then it became cats. And although our name hasn't really followed our mission, One Dog at a Time is very meaningful to me personally, just because that's where we all started.
Yeah.
But we will assist with any owned animal, which means any barned, chained, kenneled, tethered, dogs in homes, horses in sheds. Any owned animal is actually able to be assisted through our animal cruelty laws under the Crimes Code.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. It's been a privilege to be part of the organization. What would you say is ODAAT's greatest need right now, if you had to pinpoint something?
Our greatest need. Lots of property. Lots of property, so that we have buildings for all of the different animals that we are assisting.
Okay, well, let me stop you there, because many people don't realize that we don't actually have a physical building or shelter to place all of our animals. Where are all of ODAAT's animals?
The majority of our animals are in foster homes, which honestly, our fosters are completely priceless. They are the bridge to where these animals learn. We learn about them. We show them that people are no longer going to hurt them and that they're safe. We get to know them, and then we try to place them appropriately into homes. It's not where we just go, oh, okay, you want to adopt an animal, here it is. We want to know that when they go home forever. We recently got a building. It is not where we need to be, but it was necessary. So property is really which way we need to go, because we need to be able to hold livestock also. At this point, if a police department contacts us about 4 horses, we have to reach out and try to find a place for those horses. Someone who is willing to house them until the court case would be done if there were charges, and that could be 10 months, a year, 2 years. It just depends. We were
Wow.
just involved with an animal cruelty case out of Blair County where a man was almost starved his dogs to death. Thankfully, we were contacted prior and we were able to go to court. We were able to get those dogs back to health. But that took a little over 2 years.
Wow.
So we know what time frame we're looking at when we go into this, and we're committed to holding the evidence. The issue is, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is animal cruelty cases cost a lot of money. A lot of money to which the counties throughout the state of Pennsylvania really don't have like set aside and allotted for these cases. So that's where ODAAT comes in. And that's why the donations that we receive are so important.
So most of the funding that we receive for our organization are strictly through donations. We don't get any kind of state funding.
Nothing. And that's another thing that people don't understand is they think that, animal shelters and rescues are funded. They're absolutely not funded. The majority of the humane societies and the SPCAs they're privately owned and operated. The only way that we can run this rescue is to ask the public for their help. And a lot of the cases that we deal with, there's things that we cannot post because they're active court cases.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you even let the public know our need when we can't post photographs or things like that?
Right.
The other thing about our rescue that's very difficult, and I think it is something that throughout the years I never really thought about until just recently, but we post a lot of graphic photos. Those are the cases that we deal with. And the reason we do it is not for the awe effect. It is because we're trying to find out who did this to these animals. And the only way that we can do that is to actually put that out there. I think a lot of people who donate, they donate for the feel good aspect of it, is like they know that they're helping us and they love that. But they can't handle seeing all of that. They can't handle seeing the photos. And to be honest with you, we can't either.
Yeah.
But if we don't do this, who will? You know what I mean? And that's what keeps us going every day, is that we know that if we don't do it, the who will, that question, I have a very difficult time with.
Yeah. Which I think just speaks to your passion of how this whole thing started. How many years ago is it now?
Well, November will be 8 years. Yes, absolutely. 8 years. Been a very, very long, very educational. We've had so many triumphs. We have, I don't even know how many cases we've assisted in throughout the years, but the one thing that I love about ODAAT and I'm very, very, very proud of is we have never lost a case when we assisted front to back. We haven't. And it's been, and that in and of itself
Makes it worth it, right?
It does make it worth it. And then when I sit and someone sends me a photograph of one of the adopted animals that we helped, and they're so happy and they're healthy and they're thriving and they're loved beyond words. Some of these animals that we've adopted out have been in more states in a year than I've been in my entire 50. You know, I'm like, can you adopt me? You know what I mean? Like, please, can we adopt Kari Coble, please?
Yeah, good people treat their pets like one of the family. And that's how it should be. They deserve that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So we know, the pandemic has created a lot of stress and limited resources for many people due to job losses and, just working from home or being laid off. And has COVID affected ODAAT at all this last year and going on a year and a half now? And then if so, in what ways?
I think COVID has affected every animal rescue and shelter in our state, and I'm sure throughout the country, um, with people losing their homes, with people not having the money to treat their animals. ODAAT, personally, I know we have assisted so many families in being able to keep their pets when they needed medical care. Um, the problem is that stuff, I mean, we have tens of thousands of courtesy vetting. And although we love to be able to help families, and it's families that, we don't always post the photos, we don't always post the stories. We're helping where we can help, but we at this point have in our foster-based rescue 90, I think it's 90 animals last I looked, which is the most that we've had in this rescue at any given time. I'm almost positive. And the need is every day. I mean, we're getting contacted every day about animals that need homes for whatever reason. COVID has really, it's taxed the vets' offices. The vets are so busy, and it's extremely difficult to get our animals in a timely manner. Vets are backed up on spaying and neutering until November and December right now. We do not adopt out unless our animals are spayed or neutered, which means our animals are staying in foster homes longer. People don't always understand the process. They don't understand that, we fully vet our animals, and the majority of our animals come in injured. The majority of our animals come in thin. They've maybe never ever seen a vet. We currently have 2 litters of puppies, which is something that we don't normally take in unless there's a good reason. It's just not something that we do a lot of because we don't have time when we're dealing with the humane cases.
Right.
And these 2 girls came in under circumstances that, one had already had the babies and they were 4 weeks old. The other one was an emergency intake that was pregnant, very pregnant. And we thought possibly she would need an emergency C-section. So yeah, we're taxed beyond our limits. I think that all this, even the shelters, there's rescues that we work with, that we're all trying to help each other to be able to take on the overflows, but we're running out of space and we're running out of fosters, and our volunteers are working from the time they get up till the time they go to bed, and we all have families that we try to squeeze in amongst everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been very difficult, and let's face it, people really don't have the funds at this moment, and it makes me feel horrible to ask people for money when I know this is just a very rough time for everyone.
It is, but somehow we get through it one day at a time, one dog at a time.
Yeah.
And one good thing that came out of it for me personally, I'll share, is my ability to work from home has allowed me to start fostering, where normally I'm traveling every day. And now I find myself with 2 foster dogs and my own ODAAT personal dog. Suddenly I'm a house of 3 dogs.
Yeah.
As of COVID. So
and doing it very successfully.
Some days I wonder. But it has enriched our lives in that way, and it's given my kids a sense of responsibility because they're also doing school from home some days, and that's the one silver lining of COVID and how it's affected my family, which makes me concerned. I know there was some thought that people have adopted more puppies and brought animals into their home because of COVID. And I worry about, and I don't know if you do, I'm curious to hear your thoughts of when hopefully we get back to pre-COVID status where people are, back to work, and you wonder what happens to those animals. Hopefully, they're going to stay where they are and be okay with their people leaving their home when they're used to them being home all the time. What are your thoughts?
Well, excuse me. Well, I can tell you that I speak with lots of, you know, presidents of rescues, the shelter directors and things like that. And we all called it, and we all have been extremely concerned. And the fact is we thought that we would get, you know, pummeled when things started to open up, which it started, honestly, it started right away. But we are now seeing, as of probably about 2.5 months ago, when things did start to open up, just a huge influx of animals coming in. And the issue is that these dogs have had people around 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
And now people are going back to work, and because they didn't go out, they weren't able to socialize their animals. And this is happening with our fosters too. I mean, you're taking a dog that's unsocialized for a year, and then trying to take them out to the general public. We're seeing a lot more dog bites. We're seeing incidents in the home. You know, people are starting to have family over. And what people need to realize is that those dogs are not that much different than what we are. They had their own little circle. And when people come into your circle that are not someone that you're familiar with, you don't always trust them. You know, you've got to really get to know them. And people aren't taking the time to think about how the animal feels.
What would
And
you suggest people do as they
what?
start to, do you have any practical tips or suggestions as people start to bring in strangers to their homes, or people that the animals aren't used to seeing, or going back to work? What
Right.
would you suggest to
Okay, so
them be most
my
successful?
my suggestion, first of all, would be for the people that are going back to work.
Okay.
I would absolutely have a crate, and I would absolutely start using it. That would be for any age dog.
Maybe starting with like a
And
certain amount of time.
yes, like just putting the dog in the crate and going out back and working in the yard, even if it's just for an hour, and then coming back in, letting the dog know that, hey, I'm here, I didn't leave you.
Mhm.
A lot of rescue dogs and shelter dogs, and the ones that they're getting off of the rehoming pages and things like that, they are, they're worse than the one, you know, they miss you. They don't know that you're coming back. Crate them, go to the grocery store and come home. Start doing it in increments, and small increments, and then start to expand it. Give them something to chew on, something to keep them busy. See if you can find someone who will come in at lunchtime and let them out. Eventually, they will realize that you are coming home. For the really difficult cases, that's when they need to talk to their vet and maybe think about some medication to get them through the hump. And I know a lot of people are against the medication, but I have to say, you know, as human beings, there's a lot of times where we're extremely stressed out,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And right now is one of those times. So they're stressed out. And sometimes that does take medication to get through a situation in your life. And you hear my fosters? Can you hear them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's not always a bad thing. So I would say talk to your vet. I would say start to socialize them more. There's stores. Please make sure your dogs are vaccinated first. But there are stores that actually allow you to take your animals. Now, if they're extremely fearful of strangers, that's not what to do.
Right.
You know, take them for walks in your neighborhood. Let them see people. Take them to dog parks if your dogs are friendly. Try to get them out and socialize. And of course, at it, you know, a comfortable distance still. We are not, this is not over. But yeah, I would say work with them and attempting to show them that you will come home.
Okay. Those are great suggestions. Thank you.
And don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up on them.
What would you say? We're getting short on time here, but I want to end with some good stuff. So tell us what your favorite thing is about rescue.
the happy endings. Without those, I don't know that I could continue to do this every single day.
Yeah.
Knowing that we take a broken animal and we nurture them, we get them back to health, we show them compassion, commitment. This is not easy what we do, not even for a second. The coordination of vet care, the coordination of fosters, the fosters and their commitments. This is our lives. And I would like to think that the time that we take out of our lives for these animals, people are appreciative, but these animals are definitely appreciative. These animals show us how much they love us. And I guess what I would love more of is time, just time to be able to show everyone all of the happy endings and explaining the whole story. And like front to back, how amazing it is to watch from behind the scenes these animals be brought back to health and get great homes, knowing that it wouldn't have happened without us.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the wag of the tail when at one point in their lives it was tail between their legs for them to be brave enough to pull that tail out and start wagging and trusting. And some dogs just trust regardless of their background, and others it does take some time. So yeah, the happy endings are the best part for sure, for me too. How does someone become a foster for ODAAT?
Oh boy. Oh boy. So they would go to our website. It's www.onedogatatime.us. And the US is not for the United States. It's for us, because it is for us. We have a very wonderful group of volunteers that we call our ODAAT family, and I consider them my family. And in order to become a foster, you submit an application and you go through a process just like our adopters. And then we try to choose the dog or cat, whatever animal that we feel would fit into your home. Sometimes it takes a while to become, to get that perfect animal that we feel that would fit.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on the animals that come in.
Okay, great. And we always say, we can't do everything, but we can do something. So what are some simple things that individuals can do to support ODAAT? Become a foster?
Yeah.
What else?
Transports, we need transporters. We are transporting dogs and cats over 200-mile round trip just to get spaying and neutering right now. We need transporters desperately. And trust me, without the transporters, a lot of things don't get done. So they're priceless. People who will network for us, just basically sharing our posts off of Facebook. People don't think that helps, but one share can get a dog or cat home.
Mm-hmm.
One share can figure out who did commit a crime. You never truly know if what that one share is going to do. We ask that people, if they want to get actively involved in their community and they want to do an event for ODAAT, reach out. You want to have a hoagie sale? Absolutely. We appreciate all the help we can get. And I say it all the time that every dollar counts, but I don't know that people truly understand that statement. I mean, it literally is every single dollar counts in this rescue. You know what I mean? Our adoption fees, basically, we hope sometimes cover just the basic vetting, but we take in some of the hardest cases that cost the most money.
Right.
So the sharing our fundraisers, holding a fundraiser, networking, telling people about us, telling people that, we will help, we will do our best, that if they report to us, if they're not sure where to report an animal cruelty or neglect complaint to, we will point them in the right direction. If there is no humane officer in their area, we will do that also. We'll reach out to the police departments. If we have a volunteer in the area, we'll come on scene and we'll help. We just want to make sure that the animals that are in serious need of help are going to get it.
Yeah. Those are all great things. And to adopt, do not shop, don't go to a breeder, don't go to a pet store, always look to rescue. If ODAAT doesn't have the right fit for you, always go to a rescue. There are animals out there in need every single day.
Research.
Yes.
Research. I ask people to please educate yourself, look up spaying and neutering, look up, medical issues like pyometra, look up, just research what a puppy mill is and where those animals end up and why they are allowed to continue. Watch the documentary Dog by Dog. There's so much, and I have to be honest with you, there's so much about the world of animals that I didn't know prior to starting this accidentally. There's a lot I know now that I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
But now that I do, I can't just walk away.
Right. And what we can continue to do is educate others about what we know. We could probably do a whole nother show just on puppy mills and what goes on behind the scenes and what is shown to the public. Maybe we'll do that for our next interview. All right, Kari. Well, we are out of time. I'm going to give you the floor for anything else that you want to say to the supporters of One Dog at a Time and those who are listening to our broadcast right now to get to know a little bit about our organization. Any final words?
I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of our dedicated volunteers who without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. To the donors, truly hitting that donate button. It humbles me more than anything to know that people support us like they do. I'm sorry. I want to show them something real quick. Okay, hold on. Who's coming? Who's coming? Who's coming? It's gonna get loud.
Oh.
This is what you support. And then Mama's coming. Where's Mama? I feel Mama somewhere. Say hi, guys. Say thanks so much for your help. Say thanks so much.
Great.
This is what you support. You give them a chance at a new life.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Serena.
Thank you, Kari. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.